Well, hello again, guys, and you're joining me here for an emergency broadcast from real life Tyneside. Not that the other videos I do aren't real life, but this is me walking back from the gym. I went there at 9 o'clock this morning. I still haven't got a sweat on. In fact, I have. So all the Newcastle United news, but it was one thing after another today. Yes, in the news I broke, and it was all leading to this at 5 p.m. that Newcastle were closing in on the deal for Stuttgart striker Nick Woltemade. He now is on his way to Tyneside. By the time I post this, he will have landed here. The medical would have begun. There is an outside chance he could be registered in time to make his debut at Leeds on Saturday. So let's talk through that for just a second and the huge implications potentially for Alexander Isak to Liverpool. Woltemade, what do we know? 23-year-old Stuttgart striker, deal agreed today between the clubs. Again, news I exclusively brought you at Daily Mail Sport at 5 p.m. that Newcastle were closing in on that ambitious move, and a move that will be seen as something of a coup given Bayern Munich have pursued him all summer. The fee is somewhere between 65 and 70 million pound, including add-ons. Woltemade was one of the stars of the Under-21 European Championship in the summer. Now, was he right up there at the very top of Newcastle's list a few weeks ago? No, he probably wasn't. But as other targets came and went, they've done this one in secret over the last 48 hours. Now, also this week, to the backdrop of the hush-hush move for Woltemade, there's been the bids for Jürgen Strand-Larsen down at Wolves. Now, two offers were rejected, 50 and 55 million pounds. As I tweeted yesterday, the absolute insistence from inside Wolves is that they do not want to sell. That is what turned their attention to the German striker. Johan Wissa is still there in the background as well. Now, does the arrival of Woltemade mean that Newcastle's striker search is off? No, it doesn't. And that is why Liverpool's move for Alexander Isak is still alive. It's never been dead. I've maintained all summer, guys, that Newcastle have been searching and trying to satisfy those conditions of sale that would allow them to then consider and negotiate with Liverpool. That hasn't been the case so far. They haven't been able to sign one striker in the best part of 2 months, let alone two. But the movement on Woltemade, I said again, to recap, he's due here now tonight. Almost certain, barring any late hitches, that he will become a Newcastle player and that striker search will be over. And wow, for me, what an exciting addition it is. Now, Strand-Larsen, is that still alive? I'm told it's not done yet, but I would be very surprised if Wolves were willing to relent on their absolute insistence that they don't want to sell. But also, as well, Woltemade and Larsen are very similar players, big, tall, target men type, as much as they're both very good with their feet. That is why the continued hope and belief that there could be movement on Wissa, that is the one I think they could now pivot to. Not that they've ever really looked elsewhere. Wissa has always been there in the background. There's a reason they've waited 4 weeks, and that is because the player's absolute insistence and his desire to make this happen. His agent is currently there in London. He's flown in, waiting for the nod to come to Tyneside. Now, what does that deal need to happen? Well, it needs Brentford to bring in a replacement. There's a load of detail. I'll put a link in the description below the line. There's so much detail in a piece I've written there tonight about Larsen and why Larsen didn't quite work. Newcastle were talking to the wrong people on that. There was a little bit of annoyance inside Wolves. I told you this was real life. The buses are going past, the lights fading. I'm being hit in the face by branches. We're currently approaching South Gosforth roundabout, where I'll be lucky if I don't get hit by a car. It's crazy down there. Yeah, Spaghetti Junction's got nothing on that. It really hasn't. Anyway, we might have to find a pub, guys, just so we can edit the video and for better light. Yeah, we'll dress it up as that. Anyway, Larsen, I think that one now is all but done. But Wissa is still alive, and the search for his second striker, any second striker, is still ongoing now. Because, and again, all this detail is revealed in the piece below the line, the big read on a big day. It all started on Monday when the Reservoir Dogs landed on a sleepy, leafy street in Ponteland. All of the detail is in there. The blacked out windows of the Mercedes people carrier, the chauffeur-driven Mercedes S-Class being reversed onto the drive of Alexander Isak, and the talks that took place inside, again exclusively revealed by myself on Monday in the hours before the Liverpool game. What a week this has been. The Liverpool game has been amidst it all as well, one of the greatest matches of the Premier League season. We're only 2 weeks in, it will be come week 38. But then on the back of that, the dominoes and the moves started to fall, and the moves were made for Woltemade, for Larsen. Wissa still in the background there. Big pressure now being put on those intermediaries to try and make that deal happen. They still want Wissa. And if Wissa And Woltemade, I haven't got the proper pronunciation yet. I'll go with both. At least that way I'm right 50% of the time. If the move for Woltemade goes through as we expect it to, and another striker does come in, and that's far from guaranteed as we stand here now. Goodness, it's taken so much effort to get one in. He's not even in yet. If a second one does come in, absolutely, I think now the Alexander Isak move, let's not get ahead of ourselves, the Alexander Isak move to Liverpool would happen. I've said that all summer, that all options are on the table. Now, I did a 10-15 minute segment on Sunday Supplement the other day, and I noticed the aggregators from Liverpool took out what they wanted to believe, and the aggregators from Newcastle took out what they wanted to believe. Guys, what I said during it all was absolutely all options are still at play here, as it has been all summer. Alexander Isak has never been told he is going nowhere. Newcastle, as the statement said, and as I've reported all summer, they've tried, they've accepted Isak's wishes and desire, and they've sought to make that move happen potentially. They just haven't been able to. Now, yes, more recently, as it looked as if those conditions of sale weren't going to be satisfied, there was an added resolution, a changing, a hardening of the stance at the top of Newcastle to keep Isak and to tell him that. But then on Monday, the senior delegation from the ownership went to his house in Ponteland, and Isak said, no, I'm not going to play now. I'm not going to play after the transfer deadline. I need that move. That, which I then reported, sources said to me there was a realisation, there was this already, but a new realisation that perhaps relationships were broken beyond repair. That is why there's been the acceleration this week in pursuit of those targets. Now, does Alexander Isak go to Liverpool now? No, not definitely. I think the odds of it happening have increased dramatically. And I've been of this opinion for a couple of days now that Isak to Liverpool was perhaps more likely than not if one of those dominoes did fall. Well, one of them, Woltemade, is about to topple. Another one could follow. Even if it doesn't, even if it is one striker in, do Newcastle then, okay, we're crossing the road, guys, wish me luck. Do Newcastle then have a decision to make? If they get Nick Woltemade in for close to £70 million, I'm going to push the lights off. For £70 million, does that then give Liverpool the green light to approach Newcastle over Alexander Isak? Told you it's all happening round here. Let's go. We'll walk up into Gosforth. It's a bit of a climb up this hill as well. Liverpool now haven't come this far to not come back in with a second offer for Isak. And I've said all along on this, and sources I've spoken to today agree on this, that the actual negotiation between Liverpool and Newcastle over the fee, I don't think is the biggest obstacle to overcome here. If Liverpool see that encouragement, have a big ticket striker, close to £70 million, like Woltemade coming in, yes, you might be sold as the replacement for Callum Wilson, but come on, they're not spending £70 million on a replacement for Wilson. This is bigger. This is bigger than that. If Liverpool see that and it goes through, they will absolutely come back in with an offer. They haven't given Isak the encouragement they have, which we believe they have, to conduct himself the way he has this summer, just to leave him high and dry, especially not if Newcastle bring in that striker, especially not if they bring in two. The Isak sale will happen. So now, guys, as we stand here, or as we walk here tonight up a very steep hill, the odds of this British record deal, Isak Liverpool going through, have increased significantly. Not guaranteed. Crossing another road here, and we've negotiated it. And I don't believe negotiations between Liverpool and Newcastle will be the issue. It's getting those ducks in a row that would facilitate a sale and not leave Newcastle in a weaker position. They couldn't have brought nobody in and considered selling Alexander Isak. But right now, things are starting to move. Woltemade, I don't know a great deal about him. I saw him play in the Euros. He looked tremendously exciting there. Big guy, good feet. Looks as if he could operate as a 9 or a 10 or even out wide. Such was the skill he had. They clearly like him inside Newcastle. They've always said they wouldn't put the money down on anyone. And I trust their recruitment record. They've got none wrong, really, if you go back over it. Every player in a roundabout way has been a success. The absolute majority of them, incredible successes. None more so than Alexander Isak. But he doesn't want to be here now. And they're pragmatists on the inside. And that is why, since the start of the summer, there's been that pragmatic take on it. That if the conditions of sale, which the club stated in black and white in their statement, were satisfied, a sale would be explored. We're now getting closer to those conditions of sale being satisfied. And maybe, just maybe, rather than two coming in, one might be enough for Newcastle to look at it and say, let's draw a line under this and move on, because the Isak situation is toxic now. There's an acceptance of that on the inside, but it's got to be right for the club. I'll come back to that. If they make the decision that bringing in Woltemade and then it's worth the gamble of reintegrating Alexander Isak, that could yet be the decision. All options are at play. All options have always been at play. The idea has been forced to stay, totally can't go anywhere. It's not the case. They've been softly with Isak. They have been from the start. One of the big things they pointed to, I'm told in the meeting on Monday, is that they were able to say, look, we've tried to facilitate this sale. We've tried for Sesko, Ekitike, Delap, João Pedro. They've tried. They weren't able to get those deals done, but now they are. He's up there somewhere, big Nick Woltemade, and it looks like he's going to be a Newcastle player. Again, that outside chance he might feature at Leeds on Saturday. So things are moving, guys. And the link in the description below the line is the big piece I've written. Loads and loads of detail there, including Dan Burns' unintentional cameo in the Isak drama up in Ponteland on Monday night. So there you go. I enjoyed writing that, and as I was writing it, as I was putting it all together, I got the news that Woltemade was happening. So another crazy day in the world of Newcastle United, another crazy week, another 4 crazy days to come. This isn't over, absolutely not. Still so much to play out. Hit like, comment, and subscribe. And there's the Champions League draw, I can't even talk about that now. I was trying to live tweet the Champions League draw while I was writing the story on Woltemade. Barcelona, Paris Saint-Germain. I haven't had time to digest it. It looks super exciting, but for now, it's the transfers and that breaking news that takes precedent. All the link in the descriptions below the line. Comment, what do you think about Woltemade? He comes in, plus maybe one other. Isak will go. What do you think of that? Is that best for the club, that he does move on? I think so. And I think there's been that acceptance on the inside all summer. That has been my instinct, my information. And we're moving closer to that now. But it's not done. Liverpool need to come back with the acceptable big offer. Newcastle need to feel as if they've got their own house in order. We're closer to those two things than we were this morning. And I'll be back tomorrow morning talking to Eddie Howe from Newcastle's Benton base. Like, comment, subscribe, all of that. This is fun, guys, isn't it? Where are we now? South Gloucester Metro Station. For those expats, for those who watch from abroad, there you are. Real life Newcastle. And what an exciting place it is to be right now. Okay, good night, guys. Bye-bye.